Age breakfast briefings. It's taking place in Sandton, and the focus is on women in production, but I know there's a lot more to that, and Peter is going to take over and introduce us to his guests as well. Peter, a very, very good morning to you and your guests.
Yes. A very good morning to you, Leanne, and good morning to all our viewers across the country and also across the continent, because many of you are watching from more than 40 countries on DSTV channel 404. And as Leanne was saying, the focus today is very much on Women's Month, but also, more importantly, the role that women have been playing in local content production, storytelling, and poetry. And we've come to the last day of Women's Month in South Africa. 9th of August 1956, 20,000 women marched to union buildings in Pretoria to march against the extension of pass laws to women. But in many ways, the face of women became very much a part of the struggle and had contributed to the emancipation of millions of people in South Africa. And the journey, I think, continues in the role of women. They had their own rights and their own issues in the Women's Charter that came through at that time. And in fact, famously at that time, we had the women saying that traditionally they said the role of the woman was in the kitchen, and they said, no, the role of women is everywhere. So what we'd like to see is their role increasing. We know the challenges that they've been facing. And as we focus a little bit on the local content production, filmmaking, television making, storytelling, poetry, films in general, we'd like to see the progress that's been made, particularly since 1994. What are your thoughts? What are your questions? What are some of the challenges that you're facing? We have an audience here that are going to help us with the conversation, but I look forward very much to hearing your thoughts as well at home. At Morning Live, SABC is our Twitter handle where you can pose your questions. But who's going to help us unpack this conversation? We have three people on the panel here, and I'm going to introduce them to you now. And we start with the Deputy Minister at the Department of Communications, Mayor Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you, Vio, and good morning to everybody here, and most importantly, the viewers at home.
Fantastic. And to you, Chairperson of the National Film and Video Foundation, which we'll just say NFVF going forward, Mayor Mmabatho, Ramagoshi, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to you.
Thank you for having me, Peter, and welcome. I mean, hi to everyone.
That's a better word. Hi, I love that. And then next to you, we have Dr. Rakwena Monareng, who's the CEO of the Pan-South African Language Board, and we'll be just saying Pansalb afterwards, right?
It's Pansalb.
Pansalb. Okay. Pan-South African Language Board. Yes. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to you.
Okay, Gelabo.
All right. Okay, well, let me start with you, Deputy Minister. We've just come to the end of Women's Month, but I guess the journey for women is every single day, and it's been since the beginning of time. 1956, women stepped out in front. 1994 was a new dawn, but women have been challenged since then and continue to kind of try to break through glass ceilings and so on and so forth. Just give us a perspective on your thoughts as you, look back at Women's Month and the role of women, particularly in this arena, film, video, television, storytelling, artists in general.
Thank you, Vio. Firstly, let me appreciate the great work that was done by the women of 1956. Earlier on, you said it used to be said that the role of the women is in the kitchen, and those women proved it to be wrong, actually, because it is them that went to the streets to say, no, not in our name. We're not going to allow anybody to divide our families. We're not going to allow anybody to undermine us as women, because we have a crucial role to play in building a society. Today we are seated here, we're telling the stories that they made. Therefore, even today, as women, you have a crucial role to play in ensuring that we deliver economic freedom to all the women that are seated here, to all the generations that are going to come. Of course, we're doing that building from what they left for us. As they delivered political freedom, we are saying now, how do we then make sure that we tell the stories of South African women today in all the platforms that we spoke about, be it on TV, be it through filming, be it on radio and on print media? But is it enough to tell the stories of the women that are there, without us taking a back seat and say, well, we have occupied some of those platforms, but is it effective? Has it managed to help us reach where we want to go to, whereby we say, let women occupy their rightful place in the media industry? And as the time goes on, we will unpack about the advantages that are there, the disadvantages at the same time of being a woman in this space in terms of media. But at the same time, how do we then make sure that we overcome those challenges working together as women so that we're able to move South Africa forward by telling our stories, by making it a point that that poetry that is being rendered by whoever there gets to be heard by a person not who's only here in Joburg, but a person that is seated in America, and one gets to get an idea of what South African women go through.
All right, so we're going to unpack quite a number of the things that you've mentioned there, but let me turn to you, Mayor Ramagoshi. The National Film and Video Foundation. I mean, you know, when we go back to 1956, the idea of women filmmakers was far-fetched, actually, at that time. Women had specific roles. If they weren't at home, they were probably nurses, teachers. Some were lucky to be lawyers, but we had very few people other than actresses and maybe PAs in the film industry. Things have changed significantly. As you've been celebrating Women's Month, how have you been able to celebrate where women have come in the arts, in film, in storytelling and poetry?
Thank you, Peter. I think as NVF, yes, we acknowledge that since 1994, there has been progress. Women, yes, they've been actresses, and that is the space that men in the film making wanted to see women. However, since National Film and Video Foundation, we ensured that we put women in the center. Since 1994 to date, as NVF, we do have a women-specific funding where we said, I think in the past council, we looked at 98 when NVF started and say, where are the women? And our funding model was a problem because we were funding 20% and we said to a filmmaker, go and get the 80%. And if you want to transform, you need to come with radical policies. Then we said we're going to have slates specifically for women, where we say women, you go and make 20 films per annum. That will be from script writing to producing. And women, because they've got the skills, because they've got the knowledge, they've produced those 20 films. And we also said we are going to put money aside for youth. And as we are celebrating Women's Month now, we've been going to provinces showcasing the films produced by women. And in this month, we've got 2 films that talks about 1956. Because the stories of women, even though we know that women marched, unfortunately, most of South Africans know about the 4 women who were in the forefront. They do not know the story of the women who organized at the villages, who came to Pretoria during the time where there was no TV, there was no Twitter, there was no Facebook. However, 25,000 women organized. And those are the women that we are standing on the shoulders of today. We're seeing women now coming up with stories that remove them from the kitchen, that are now showing that women can be sitting as CEOs at the board of companies, because those are the stories that young people want to see. If we continue producing stories of women as secretaries, young women think that this is where women should be. Now, the stories that are written by women today show the strength of the women that are writing them. The stories that are being produced by women today indicate women who are now powerful out there, who are now even taking responsibility. I mean, as NVF, we've got 2 high-powered films that were produced by women that we have funded, Ayanda and Happiness. And if you look at Happiness, written, produced by women, is one of the high-grossing films in South Africa to date. And those are films that NVF have funded and are written and produced by women.
All right, very exciting. And perhaps we might even see a TV series of a woman president. Who knows? Hey, so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, let me turn to you, Dr. Monareng. And I know that language, storytelling, script writing is one area that you're very interested in. And I just wonder if you could take us through your view of the journey that the voice of women has been coming through over time.
Yeah, thank you very much, I would just like to start by saying Happy Women's Day to everybody. We are of women. We are born from women. If it wasn't for them, we were not going to exist. And they are women because they had partners, which is ourselves. Together we coexist, and we make sure that we give platform to everybody. Women are rewriting and describing the discourse of how we relate currently. I mean, the two sisters that have opened the floor, you can feel that they are talking from a feminine discourse that redefine how we interact, and the voice is very powerful. It is very important to note women who contributed saliently without making noise, but making an impact. What we're trying to drive, and even the discourse that they are trying to rewrite, is that one of requesting and advancing and asserting a sense of quality. When they do things, they don't do things because it needs to be done, but they want to do things because we live that particular thing. It is very important to note how they redefine that through script writing, through films. I see, maybe I should pick one and then give you an example why I think the film industry is basically changing the world because of the discourse that the women are prescribing. There is the lady Connie Mutsenyane or Connie Ferguson. She started as being an actor, and now she is seriously in script writing, seriously in film production. And if you look at the subtext of all the films that she's projecting, she's basically telling you the world as perceived and seen and constructed from a feminine perspective that makes sure that there's coexistence of all the center of life. And I think those are the people that we basically are celebrating. This poetry, I like this lady. Unfortunately, she does that in English. It could have been powerful if she was doing that in her mother tongue. Nothing wrong, she's in business. But just listen to her, Mashile lady. When she cuts across the nuance of words, when she captures reality and life. She does it, nobody can ever do that. But it always punchy and helpful, and I feel embarrassed now that I speak in English instead of using my mother tongue, because that is where you're going to pick up the nuance, the real me, the real construction of reality coming from the background of my own language. And I see language as mothers.
All right, that's fascinating. And I guess part of the SABC's journey in terms of increasing local content will provide a platform for more local content. Let me ask you, FV, are you seeing more language coming through in some of the local content that's being produced?
As NVF, yes, we do. I mean, previously, people would apply for funding for films that really were duplicating what the US is doing. But we're seeing more people applying for funding for authentic South African films, telling their stories, even in mother tongue. I think another barrier that people had before was that they were forced to write films in English. Now we're seeing more people writing for African languages. And I think this is where you see people being happy and proud of who they are. If you look at SABC in terms of the viewership of films like Bomovango, that's where you see that people do not want to continue seeing American stories in South Africa, but they're telling their own stories. So yes, we've got more people writing in their local languages and producing films in their local languages. I think the challenge is to see more South Africans consuming those, because you can't make a film that you only see with your family. You write a film, you write and you produce for an audience. So the audience must be ready and be proud to consume films that are written in their own languages.
All right. Deputy Minister, one of the things that I know that you're particularly interested in is media diversity. So it's not just about what we see on air, but a lot of the things that are going on behind the scenes and the roles that women are playing.
Thank you, Peter. Let me first apologize. Apparently, I said Vio earlier on in my introduction. My apologies for that. You will recall, Vio, that as much as we say as government, we take pride in the fact that we've made progress in terms of transforming the media and diversifying it. But we are still concerned of the fact that when you go to these media houses, you find that, of course, yes, the women are there, but most of them, they are newsreaders or they are newscasters. But then we're concerned that even as I'm seated here, if you're looking at the camera people in front of us, it is men. Now, we are saying it is high time that we are advancing the technical skills in terms of media, not just ownership, but the skills that will talk to transforming the industry, that we cannot only be seen because we've got pretty faces and nice structures, therefore we must go in front of the TV, or we have nice voices, then we must just go on radio. Therefore, from our side, we said then let's take an initiative. Let's provide funding for students, women in majority, that they go and study television and film production in its entirety, the entire value chain. We witnessed what happened with Generations, for example. We were painful. We were hurting. These are women who have been there, but of course there are reasons for everything because it's profit-driven and other interests that the owners look at. But for us, it is like they've played their part, but then why can't they be given an opportunity? But it dawned in our minds that actually I understand that it is time for new talent to emerge in South Africa, but at the same time, taking into consideration that the same actors and actresses have been in the space, what have we invested in them in terms of them, these things that Sisi was talking about from a film and video, National Film and Video Foundation, that we invest in them to be able to produce these films. We want them to be sound engineers. We want them to be electrical engineers. Because as we talk of the lighting that is provided when they make these movies, the women have not occupied that space. And believe you, my brother, the real money is in those. There is no money in being an actress and whatever. The money is behind the camera and the scenes. Hence, we said we're going to train. We provided funding to 150 students. We have others that are in short courses now, 6 months, that are going to graduate here in August from the Eastern Cape, Gauteng, and Western Cape. And we, of course, intend to expand the program to other provinces next year. But will that be enough? You spoke of the fact that we are saying it is good that SABC has committed to 90% local content development. What does that mean thereof? Are our people ready to tap into those opportunities that are there? As the Department of Communications, we've been driving the digital terrestrial television program, which you call digital migration. Are our people ready to say, as we are going to increase the channels of SABC from 3 to 16, which means we're in addition of 13 channels, are they ready to provide that content that we're talking about? We want quality in everything, but if we do not help them to be skilled or enhance the skills that they have so that they are the ones that benefit in that, we will not achieve what we want to achieve, because our own interest as government is to say, in the little that we spend, let us make value for it through skills empowerment, but also give people an opportunity to create opportunities for others. We do not want to employ everybody. We want to give people skills and knowledge so that people can go and create jobs for others. That's what I can say for now.
Okay, well, I'm very excited about some of the things that you've said, and we're going to unpack them even further. And I'm going to say we're very proud at the SABC that we've been leading the way, and you'll see lots of women behind the scenes. There's Zonke there, who's in control. She's busy running my life. She does camera, she does floor, many things. But we also have a lot of women directors, and we even have technical people. I see them rolling cables and carrying equipment, and engineers as well. So we're quite proud at the SABC, but certainly we need more, and this is a journey that needs to continue happening. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, don't forget, at Morning Live SABC, if you have a contribution, a question that you'd like to put through to our panel, or maybe a comment that you'd like to make, we'll pick it up there on Twitter. Stay with us.